I'm not drawing with the brush, I'm painting. Laying the brush on the paper.
Excuse me, what size is this brush?
The sizes are different for each brush. This is 2, but it's like, it's a half of a finger. So you need to make sure regarding to your paper, so not too big or not too small. Now I'm gonna take a little bit lighter pink. The way to make it lighter is to add more water to the paint. And I'm gonna go and paint the petals behind. So it's okay if you go over the front ones, because this is light color, we're not gonna see them. So I'm going like that, on behind. Maybe one here. Then we can add a few darker, smaller leaves. This is the back of the lily. Sometimes they're a little bit darker.
Now.
Okay. So now we're gonna repeat this, but with a little bit different view of the lily. This one is going to be, I'm gonna make it a little bit more purple. You can do any color you like. But now I'm gonna make it first the outside. I'm gonna make it a little bit more open. So I'll start with short ones, and they are open. And they're going around the center one. And again, I'm using the same way, the brush. And they're getting a little bit smaller on the back side. Then I'll take dark color and mark the center of the lily. But the center is not going to be the center of the whole thing. It's going to move a little bit more up because this is perspective. So we're going to have bigger part front and the back is going to be smaller. So basically somewhere here is going to be the center where the leaves are pointing to each other. So now I'm going to continue with the other leaves. Now I'm going to do them straight like that. And they are going up to here. They are not overlapping with the open leaves. That, then this way, that. Then we can change the color a little bit, or the same color with more water. So we're gonna do more leaves inside. They don't have to be perfect. Just have the layer with lighter color. If you want to add a little bit more petals. You can do that. Like we can add more, so it's more of the petals are opened, a little behind. So behind a little bit shorter than the front. Okay. And now we're gonna do the third one. I'm gonna make it a little bit more purplish this time. You can choose what color you like. And this time it's gonna be even more closed. So we're not gonna see any of the center. So I'm gonna go like that. And on the back, I'm gonna see just a little bit of leaves. Then with lighter, we can add very freehand, just fill the space inside because those are leaves that are closed. We don't see the definition of them. And with a little bit darker, I'm gonna add the top layer. I'm gonna add more the closing ones. And just like few open. So I will do 2 small ones and then I wait for everybody to finish and we're gonna work on the leaves. So the small ones, we're not gonna draw them so with so much detail, just a few leaves together. That. And maybe one. Okay, so for those that are ready, I'm gonna start showing how to do a few leaves. I'm gonna start with light green, maybe mixed with a little bit of yellow. And it's not so important where we're gonna place the leaves, but some of them, it's a good idea to put them behind the water lilies. So I'm gonna do first like here. And because it's a side view, they should look like an oval, not a circle, because we are not looking from the top. We're looking from side. So I'm gonna do a little bit of green, then I'm gonna add a little bit of blue. I'm gonna mix them. Then I'll add a little bit more blue, so I have a few colors in one leaf. And around the petals, don't worry too much. The green will overgo the lighter color, so don't spend too much trying to be perfect. Okay, now I'm gonna do the second leaf here, but this time I'm gonna leave the opening and fill it inside. So it's important to work quick because it dries, depends on the paper, but it usually dries very fast. And if you want to add, let's say, a little bit different color, it's better if it's still wet. And there is another technique. You can do water, only water. Then use few colors and touch it, and it will spread, but it will stay the inside where it's wet. I'm gonna do an opening here and go around. So this is another way to do it. It's called wet on wet. The look is a little bit more free than wet on dry. So we have a little bit more tight borders, which we can do later on here. But if we want to stay more like loose, we need to have a wet paper. So now keep adding. If you already started with the leaves, keep adding more. Try to kind of make different sizes. Don't stay the same size, bigger, smaller. And don't forget the cut part. So here I'm going to fill everything with this color very fast, and until it's wet, I'm going to add a little bit dark on the edges here and let it spread a little bit. That. A little bit here. You can keep adding colors if you want it more colorful. Just keep adding. Like here, I even can add a little bit of pink. Depends on your taste. How do you like them? So do a few of the bigger ones. I'm gonna make one more bluish. Let's see where. I'm gonna do here one more clear blue. That. And I'm even gonna add more dark. I'm adding a little bit of black, so it's really dark under here. And then I'll add one here, a little bit more muted color. And one here. And I'm gonna add a few colors inside them until they are wet. Here, this one, it's still wet. I can add some. Oops. Okay. Now I'm gonna add a small ones. They're gonna be a little bit more colorful, like orangey and reddish. So here and there, I'm gonna add like a nice happy spot. Some of them, they can go under the big ones. some of them. I'll do them bright green. And a few yellowish. Again, you can do any color you like. The next step, I'm gonna go back to the fish and I'm gonna wet it again. Just with water over. And do the same, add a little bit of orange and red to make, so this is the second layer. It will make the color a little bit darker and more brighter, but still we'll see the under, the other color that is under. Okay, there is a question how to do the lilies with more perspective. So what we do, like this one. So if you have the oval for this lily, see how the center is moved up a little bit. It's not in the center. So when you move this one, that makes the front petals bigger and the back, on the back petals, smaller. So this is giving the feeling of perspective. What is close to us stays the same. What is back, it gets smaller. So you do the big ones on that half, and on the back, you do small petals with the tip of the brush. Do you want to show? Okay, I'll show you. I'm going to move this a little bit. Okay, so let's see, this is our oval. So let's do with the pencil. This is the center, but we're moving it up here. Now we're gonna connect. We're gonna do like that, like that, that, that. Then the top one, so we're having those petals on the front. They're gonna show only a little small triangles that are coming from the other side. And then the next, I'm gonna wait just a little bit to dry. Next, I'm gonna add a little bit more here. So the a little bit open ones, which in front, they're gonna be short open ones. That. And on the back, we're gonna see just a little bit of like triangle leaves. Like that. And the inside, this is the center. That they all go to the side. And we're gonna add very light color here. And when it's dry, we can, now it's too much wet on wet, but when it dries, we can add more defined petals in front. They mix with each other a little bit. You're welcome. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to my lilies until you guys finish with whatever you have to finish. So I'm gonna make the front ones a little bit more defined. Like I'm gonna add a little bit of that here, a little bit here. Like so also this dark to light gives the feeling of deepness.
Your mic's not on.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so now we are doing the pink one. I'm gonna add a little bit more defined lilies here.
So are you doing the light and dark on each flower just simply by with only more or less water with the exact same color?
Yes, and in watercolors, when you go with another color on top, it always gets darker. But yes, a little bit darker than the previous. So I'm gonna add on this one a little bit.
Thank you.
Sure. Like at the beginning of the leaf. And the pink one. You don't have to do it. I'm just showing you if you want to do it, and I'm waiting to everybody to finish because I'm going to show you how to do the water.
I'm done.
Okay. We're going to wait a little bit more. There are still people working. Also, you can make them a little bit shorter. So actually you're adding another layer of petals. Okay, let's see. Okay, so now, actually, I'm going to change my water because it's too dirty. We need clean water. So there are two ways. One way is when everything is dry, you can water even on top of the what you paint already, but then it will get very loose and they will go over to like on top of each other. Sometimes it's a really good effect. This in the first thing that we're gonna do, it's not such a good idea. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna water part by part because it's drying very fast. And we need wet paper. So I'm gonna water only around the fish. Like that, going around. You don't have to be extremely precise, but kind of keep the lines. Like that, around. Sometimes you don't see it very well, but if you go on the side, we'll see exactly where the water is. Like if you look from the side. Now, when everything is wet, like in this part, I'm gonna take, I'm gonna use blue color. And I'm gonna fill inside, but trying to do like horizontal brush strokes and around the fish a little bit, going around. So a little bit around the fish, then horizontal, because it's a water, so we're gonna need to give the feeling of the movement of the water, and it's kind of horizontal. So, and see, I'm not too scared to go around. Even they go over each other, it's not a big deal. Now, what we have here, this is the fin. The fin, I'm gonna water part of the fin, like here, and continue down. And with the blue, I'll start from the bottom and slowly go up around this part. Slowly go up. Don't go all the way to the fin. The water will make them mix. So just help a little bit. So what I'm trying to achieve is the fin, part of the fin is under the water. So on one side is very straight on the top, and here they're kind of mix because the fin is into the water. So I'm gonna do the same on the other side, checking if it's wet. No, it's dried already. So I'm going to do the same. On this part, we're gonna have a very defined line on that side. Then up to here. And then You also can take a clean brush and try to spread it into the fin a little bit, like that. So we have defined line on the body. I created a little bit too hard line here, so I'm trying to spread it a little bit. Then we have contrast on that part too. So this is on top of the water. So I'm going second layer now. Oops. I went into the fish a little bit. Now, if you have mistake, you clean your brush from color and try to take the color back that you put by mistake here. Also, you can use tissue and just dry it, and then it will stop going into the. On that side, the fish is also a little bit underwater. So it's already dried, but if I water it again and add a bit of color, they will go on top. And on the bottom, to show a little bit of movements and waves, we can do on top of the fish a little bit kind of a waves going. And with water around, so they spread a little bit. So we're gonna leave this part like that, and you have two options. You can keep going on like dry paper, keep filling the space like that, keep going and try to do it horizontal, or you can slowly, part by part, you can water the paper. So it's your choice, like whatever you feel more confident or whatever you like, the look a bit more. Also, when you go with the paint, try not to wait until it's dry and add a little bit of small waves. Because if you add when it's dry, you're gonna have very hard line. You're not gonna get the feeling of the water. Around the leaves, it's okay if it's hard. And even if you leave a little bit of white, actually it will add more dimension to the painting. So in watercolor, we have the white, which we have to keep until the end, because if we lose the white, there's no way back. So I'm keep going. For this one, you need the bigger brush, but the tip is important. So if you don't have a tip on the brush, maybe it's better a smaller brush. And also you can change a little bit the color of the water, make it more bluish, more purplish, anything you like. And also, like, let's see, I'm gonna work on this part, but I don't want this part to be completely dry. So with just water, I'm watering around and making sure that it doesn't dry like a very hard line. I'm gonna add more waves a little bit. Around the water lilies, try to keep the petals, like, don't do flat. We need a little bit movement here, like some of the petals are going out. So you go in a little bit with the brush. And again, I'm using the whole brush. It's a little bit difficult in the beginning, but you can kind of get used to it, and it's faster if you use the whole brush. And keep going up. And on purpose, I'm leaving just a little bit of white around the water lilies. And on the leaves, on the back side, I go over a little bit, and it creates a little bit of darker color. So the contrast is a little bit bigger without actually drawing a line. Around the small leaves, you can take the small brush. Actually, we didn't use the small brush. Around the small leaves and around the water lilies, you can use the small brush if it's more convenient for you. Sometimes, if you're not fast enough, you have those lines under. There are paints and paper that sometimes you can fix that. And there are paint and paper that sometimes you cannot. So you can just go over with a darker color so to make the same color. Also around the small leaves, you don't have to be keeping the oval exactly. Because it's a loose painting, you can go free. And if you get something that it's not exactly oval, that's perfectly fine. And as you get more on the top of the paper, which is a little bit further, you can get a little bit more sketchy because when we look further, the things are not very clear. So we can do the same here, like in nature. If you look further, the colors are going, they're mixing with each other. So same in the painting, if you want to create a little bit of perspective with the colors, like they kind of mixing together. So in this part, I have a dry thing that it's dark, and I'm going with the lighter color, and I still have this dark part. So I'm gonna take darker color and try to blend. So after I fill out everything, I'm gonna go second layer, but the second layer gonna be a little bit more to unify everything because I have too many different spots. But before that, I need everything dry. So I'll wait a little bit more. So on purpose, I'm not using very fine watercolor paper. If you use very fine, expensive watercolor paper, you're not gonna get those spots. The color has very high absorbance of water, so the paper stays wet very long time. But with a little bit more like regular paper, like the regular watercolor paper, you're getting those spots. Okay, so here is dry. The next, I'm gonna use light color, not so dark that I used. And very fast, I'm gonna try to go over. Try to unify everything. We don't know completely flat color, but we also don't want to patchy. And also, I think because of the water, you see a little bit too much difference in color that I have. Like this one looks a little bit too dark, and this one, they're not so dark. So, but if it's dark, it's okay, because, you know, the water has, especially the water lily pond, there's so many colors, and dark and white there and light there. So I'm keep going and trying to cover as quick as I can. And now, until it's wet, I'm gonna use my thinner brush. And with the darkest of the color that you have in your background, or even just a little bit darker, I'm gonna add a little bit of shadows under the leaves and some of the water lilies. And also the shadows, they're gonna be going down. We're not gonna add on top, only under. So like that. Here a little bit. We're gonna, the small ones. So here we're gonna have on that side, like that. Under this one, a bit here. So we're adding only shadows with this dark, where the they touch the water. We don't adding this color here. This is too dark for those parts. There we're gonna add another one. So the water lily touches the water. I'm gonna add some shadows here. The fish is not adding any shadows. He's just in the water deep. Maybe here a little bit for contrast, a little bit here. There's one.
Can we add some eyes to the fish?
Yes, you can add eyes. The eyes on that fish are on the side. So they have like a little bit, they're big eyes on the side. I didn't draw them, but you can add them. And now with dark green, I'm gonna add a little bit of shadows under the petals of the lilies where they touch. Where they touch the leaf. Like here, a little bit here. And on that lily, I forgot, but I'm gonna add a little bit of yellow inside. And you can add here also the whites. If you have left white spots, you can add some yellow. If not, it's fine. So now I'm going to unmute you, and if you have questions,